Alright, we've popped that back on. Vacuum top left. Attach the brake pedal. That's on there, that's on there. Now, to get our positione correct, we need to refix these. So that bracket is for the accelerator cable. But anyway, that's not our issue at the moment. Now, press the brake pedal. That goes in and out. We'll put the pin in there in a minute. This is our brake light switch, I think. And I'm assuming, yeah. So, no brake lights, brake lights. Now, we've changed those to those, and you might think, oh, you've done it now, Peter. So what I'm going to do is drill out those, which are actually slightly slotted, so that'll give you a little bit of adjustment. So that may be our back and forth. I want to enlarge those, and my idea is just to use basically those to locate it, and then away we go. Right, sorry about that. There we go. So all we did was shorten the plate, and then we put two countersunk bolts through the bottom of it. And then if we just do that, there you go. Easy as that. I've just reattached the throttle. Which we need to find the throttle cable for. That's bolted on, that's bolted on. Let's attach these little buggers. So, again, special clutch pivot grease, obviously. I don't suppose it particularly matters which way. And these are plastic, obviously very high quality. This sort of thing someone would upgrade if they wanted to. But then I would also point out to them, you do realise they're 20 years old and are absolutely fine. I don't think they clash if you do them that way around, do they? No. Oh my god. Fucking TV. I wonder if TVR used a street urchin to assemble this stuff. There you go. You can hear the suction. There's just the fact that there's now definitely no fluid left in it. Oh yes, very dry. If you can listen, hear the micro switch. There you go. Accelerator. That's sort of back together and slightly less bent than it was before. Clutch. You can hear suction around there, so I think it works. And there we go, ready? I'm just going to put it in, sod it. You might regret it, because we're missing a steering shaft and stuff, but we'll try and get the camera about right, and then pop it in. Hello! You've now officially spent longer in the car than I have. Right. No idea what this is going to look like. Welcome to a footwell. Here are many things, of which I've got no bloody clue. There's a fuse box up there. We're missing a steering shaft, which is why it's a pig to move. I've been told that's from a Vauxhall Vectra C. That's meant to be an air vent. There for the stalks. That's, yep. And in there should be the ECUs that I haven't got, which I looked at the other day and then nearly cried. No one said they were there, by the way. I just forgot to look for them because I realised I've got another big purchase to make now, if I can even find one. The only prep we've done for this is I've siliconed around the bit where the brake parts go through. Oh. On the plus side, we haven't got to worry about scratching the paint, have we? Oh. It's actually quite a nice way to work on it. When I had the Chimera, you'd have to adopt something called the TVR position. Oh, there's a cable there, which was upside down in the footwell, but at least like this. I'm currently on a step ladder. Yeah. I don't know, is this even possible on your own? I put myself into a corner now because I've already put the silicone on there. Silly, wasn't it? You see? I don't know. I'm going to have to bend the pipes down a little bit. On the plus side, it doesn't get in the way of any of that. I think it's all going to be quite easy to fit. I mentioned earlier there's some different holes in the floor. My wife is ringing me again. I'll just guess. I'm not very tall, so I'll put it in the not very tall way. Right. So what we're going to do is push this in. That block actually bolts through from the other side. There's a plate which the bolts go through, but it does mean you have to line it up on your own. I don't know whether I'm meant to undo it first or what. But if we can get the bolts, that's sort of movable. If we can get the bolts into that, we can then bolt this up from underneath, and that'll be fairly straightforward. Yeah, so I think what we're going to do, there's your bit. I'm going to grab that with some pliers, I think, and then sort of try and pull it through, hold it, and then get the bolts in. We'll come back when we're in the footwell, maybe. If we don't know, I will just show you. They are the selection of holes. So that's sort of 3 positions, if you see that. Feeling seasick yet? That's your 3 positions for your pedal box, depending on if you're tall or short, or long of leg or short of leg. That's all the fixes really, which, because I'm a bit of a visionary, and we used those riv nuts, shouldn't be painful. So bolt that up. That's a little sort of adapter. That plate's there to, where was I going with this? That plate is there to give it some strength, otherwise the bolts will just pull straight through the fiberglass. Yeah, there we go. So we'll bolt that up and I'll come back. Now this bit really needed 2 people, but handily my long-suffering dear lady wife appeared. This is quickly becoming the feature wall, isn't it? You know, this is from a cafe on the side of the A10 that my granddad used to own, apparently, in the year many long ago. Anyway, brake pipe flaring. This is one of those things on the internet that, a bit like welding, you can't get right because everyone will always have their own ways of doing it. I have a bar type set made by Tang, which have a little demon on, which is really cool. Straight away, there's probably already, if anyone actually watches these videos, there'll be a load of comments going, "Oh, that's the wrong type. You should use that funny one that looks weird." But I think these are very good. You can do all different types of flare with them. And in fact, we're going to go do one now. So this really is your sort of bog standard kit. You'll find cheap versions of this made by Laser, Halfords, all sorts. But essentially, it comes with a few bits. Little pipe cutter, which has a reaming tool on it. The press to make the flare. The bar type, sort of one side of the die, and then all the inserts. So, first thing you need is the right size pipe, and you need everything on the floor. Standard brake pipe is usually 3/16 or 4.75mm. How these work? This is a standard pipe cutter. Goes up and down like that. And the plus of these is they'll always give a really nice cut. It's a strange noise, isn't it? You should basically just do full rotation, nip it up, full rotation, nip it up until you get that. And then the reaming tool just clears out the rubbish from the end. So now we're going over to the vise. We take our sort of bar die. You don't have to do it in a vise, and I will have to do one on the car because the previous owner has already ran one pipe. And take out the correct internal die. So this one's actually labelled 4.75 3/16. Now, how far it comes out of here, the pipe sticks through, is important. So you want to make sure the section going through it is straight to start with. Put it in loosely. That'll just hold it. They're numbered. Now, in the case of this kit, so usually the distance of how much you want this to come through is, to do a double flare, is the same as the width, which in the case of this kit is just about the size of that die. And then we nip it up. The tighter your vise, the better. Okay, so then we're just going to go a little bit of grease on there, makes all the difference. And that die sits in the top. If you're just doing a female flare, you would basically do what I'm going to do now, just not use the die at all. Wind this back. Now, in my opinion, this is why the Tang Tools kit is better than all the other types, because a lot of those go on like that and hook. This turns and it keeps it dead upright. Because how to get this wrong is for something to go on the wonk. So now we're just doing this up nice and slow, and this is compressing the tube to create the flare. And I just sort of do it up until you'll feel it tighten about there. Undo it, put that back, take the die out, and that gives you a bubble. That is a single flare. You then put it back. Make sure the point of the cone is inside the flare. Then all we do, one sort of turn, it'll tighten up again, take it back out, take it off. And there we are, we've got a little double bubble. There we go. Now, if it goes, if you go off to one side, just try again, but just put a little bit less through the bar type tool there. And when you're doing it for real, so I'm going to make a couple of brake pipes on the chassis in a minute, make sure you put that on first. So that's the nut that would go behind that flare, because basically it's the compressing of that creates your seal. And that's it. Make sure you use lots of grease. So now what we're going to do is we need to flare the rear pipe on the car, because he's already run that, it's already tied, and it goes up into a little T-block. Then we are going to flare and run the 2 front brake pipes. And obviously I forgot to show you the finished product. There you go. Nice. So as you do that up, it squishes it and it all seals and light in it, you know, right? Cool, yeah. It's dark over here. Oh, hello. No, it's quite dark, but basically we're going from our little block. Now I cannot find a picture for the life of me where these are meant to go. So what I'm going to do is have a best guess. I'm going to do a little bit of flaring on the car. So I want to just basically wind, just to give you the idea of what's going on. I'm just going to wind them round and get into the pedal box. Hey, where are you going? Right, pipe number 1. Gets a bit hard to handle all this. Right, and we're going to do an inverse flare or reverse. No, we're not. What are we doing first? So what we've done, that's in place. That's the block by the pedals. And then I'm trying to, well, I've marked it, so I'm going to cut it there. Depending on where you're installing it, you can usually lose a bit of length, so leave a bit extra if you can. Especially if it's a really difficult area to measure. No one's going to tell you off if you leave, you know, a little loop, anything like that. Just do it safely. You've got to make sure you're not going to catch it or something like that. But then who needs brakes, you know? Brakes are losers. We don't need the die for this, remember? So we want the width of the pipe sticking out a little bit more. About there. So the difference for doing that kind of flare is put the nut on first. I should actually explain, shouldn't I? So that's an inverse flare nut. Inverse flare? I think that's the right word, isn't it? An other way flare. I sort of find that if you go just under, it sort of works better. Also, look at these lovely things. Bargain. They were £40 on eBay versus usually 100 and something. A little bit of grease makes all the difference. I've got a feeling we might have just left too much out. Not too bad. Basically, no. That's the principle. So this is the sort of brake pipe you'll use for that kind of flare. That goes on to the other end, so that's a banjo bolt fitting. And then you've got the inverse face of that flare there. And that's how they seal, essentially. So, I'm sure I checked. Yes, I did. Let's pop it on. I always use a little bit of grease on there as well because they do like to stick. Right, I'll see you at the car. Okay. How do we do this? While you're attempting this, don't lose the flare nut down the. Okay. Don't do either end up tight until you got both ends on. And then we're just going to do our sort of final bends now. And that's looking pretty good. Right, so now we need a pipe. And these braided hoses are made by Hell, or HEL, or whatever. And they're going to gear outside, I guess. There's usually a big star washer or self-locking washer here as well. Okay, so that's the general idea anyway. It's quite hard to film. We'll tidy that up a little bit, and then you can see it's just hiding up there, and then this will banjo itself around to there. I think there's, oh yeah, so on the Tuscan this basically goes around this side of the shock, is cable tied there, obviously it being a TVR, and then onto the caliper, which will be just behind there. But that's all going to be very hard to film, so I'm going to do those and